Welcome back, players and fans of minor league esports. This stream is brought to you by APM Music. It's going to be a great one tonight. Happy Sunday, everybody. We're happy to have you here. I'm your host, Pandy, and with me tonight is none other than Nigel Thornbrake.
As always, happy to be here in the booth with you, Pandy, and really looking forward to this matchup between the Rhinos and the Outlaws in AL2s here coming at you tonight.
Yeah, we're going to start out here in the Academy League, one of the best leagues in minor league esports, but it's going to be a great one. The Rhinos and Outlaws, both teams not really off to the start that they wanted. I believe it is the Outlaws at 4-6 and the Rhinos at 3-7. So definitely starting off with some struggles this season, seen a couple wins, but both teams looking to get back into the swing of things.
Absolutely. And right now is probably the key moment for them to do that, to really set the tone for your season. It's week 3, right? And so for everybody who's not keeping up on the schedules, that means that this is the last round of the first session of divisional play within the schedule. So the Rhinos and Outlaws, both in the same division, looking to get the upper hand here on one another so that they can kind of make up for the mistakes that they've made in the first 2 weeks and sort of start to make that inroad back towards the playoff picture.
Yeah, and both these teams are really close in record as well. So with this being the last week in divisional play, you're going to have a few weeks of a break with non-conference play or with non-divisional play. So this is a really good chance to get the upper hand, like you said, over the opposition, and to make them kind of sting them here, sting them with a big win, and it's going to force them to just kind of look at the standings and be like, hey, they're leading us. They have 3 weeks, I believe it might be 4 weeks outside of divisionals. So this is a big game for either team. But the Rhinos Outlaws, once again, this is going to be a wonderful matchup to watch. We have Midget and BK for the Rhinos, and we have Beep Bing Bong Bop, best name in MLE, alongside Dynamic 4976 for the Outlaws.
Yep, and here we go. We're just about to get game 1 underway. The kickoff countdown is off, and we're off to the races here.
Yeah, AL2s, welcome to the stream, everybody. Once again, brought to you by APM Music. This is going to be a fantastic one. Dynamic. They're off the kickoff now. Beep looking to start a possession here in the 2v2 matchup. As possession, Nigel, is a very important aspect of this game, especially as far as mistakes go. Both teams looking to punish as many mistakes as possible. Dynamic, that's a big 50 there, but the double commit on offense is going to force the Outlaws to go back.
Absolutely, and like you mentioned, that possession is so much more important in 2s than it is in 3s. 3s, we often talk about how important pressure is overall in trying to force your opponents to make mistakes in their rotations. In 2s, it's much more about who has the ball in front of them, who can make a play on the ball at any given point in time. And so far, we've seen a really good job of doing just that from Beep, although BK has an excellent air dribble, catches Dynamic out of position, and the Rhinos go up 1-0.
Absolutely beautiful shot from BK from end to end! Exclamation point POTW, brought to you by Balls Guarana. Fantastic play from BK, gets the scoring started for the Rhinos.
And you love to see that. And honestly, it's AL here, so we love to see a little bit of flash in the air, but we don't expect to see it a whole lot at this level. But it's always nice to see somebody kick things off with a bang.
Especially for the first goal of the stream tonight. But you see B there trying to get a possession going for the Outlaws after that beautiful goal from BK, as that one just will kind of settle in the corner. You see Beep going for a big demo there in the corner, them trying to get physical there, as the Outlaws are just trying to get the edge over the Rhinos right now. But Nigel, Sunday Pick'ems has 56% of the Pick'ems rate is for the Rhinos.
I don't know a great deal about AL. Wow, his Dynamic just gets an excellent shot there from all the way across the field. No, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's just a
nice back pass.
Goes off the ceiling, goes right in there. I'm not the most knowledgeable on AL anymore these days, but I do know that Midget and Omega Plays were the 2s champions of last season. Midget's still here in AL. Not to be a dig at him, but that's... That would be my vote too if I had to pick them. I'd probably pick the Rhinos just because of that fact that we know Midget has the experience here, especially in 2s. He's a very well-rounded and grounded player. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes, especially in the backfield. So I expect the Rhinos to have a pretty stout defense throughout the series.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. So that's even more of a reason that the Outlaws are going to want to take Midget down, especially after winning the grand final last season for AL2s. But Midget's going to have a little bit of a breakaway double commit for the Rhinos offense. Is going to force Midget back after the demo there. Some defensive pressure being diffused there from, I believe that was Dynamic. But here's a chance on offense. Beep just kind of loses it there. Midget headed back the other way, but Twitch chat 71% towards the Rhinos, as here's another chance on offense. The own goal will go in the way of Midget, but honestly, I think that goal was going in no matter what.
Absolutely. I mean, you watch the playback here. Beep goes up to try to save it. If he misses that save, BK's right there to drill it through. So there's really just not a lot that Beep can do there.
Yeah, that's a big, tough save. But that's a great job by Midget putting that in a really uncomfortable spot for Beep to get to. But the Rhinos definitely, after that first goal from the Outlaws, a great start for them. Getting 2 goals back here as Midget in his own half is going to look for a possession here. That party horn boost screaming as he makes his way down the field. Now BK is going to chip one up, looking for a possession. You see the rotations and the positioning there from the Rhinos is really favorable for a really strong offensive attack. But as you said, their defense is really stout as well. But you're going to have to look out for these Rhinos because they are going to be around every corner they can.
Absolutely. I definitely feel like right now the Rhinos are showing much more comfort in possessing the ball. Midget there with just an excellent outplay, turns around right on the ball, catches the Outlaws out of position. Dynamic, can't do much on that ball, puts it in, and now the Rhinos go up by 2.
Yeah,
but like I said, it really feels like the Rhinos feel very comfortable. We're seeing BK going for a lot of what I would consider kind of silly plays in terms of going up at a ball in the corner where he doesn't really have like a great touch on the ball to go towards the net or anything. But they... Ooh. Wow.
Oh man!
Oh, that's
so
just
close.
So disappointing. So heartbreaking for the Outlaws. So close to being one in there, reducing that gap down 2-1, but they weren't able to capitalize. Finally, Beep gets it across, and the Outlaws go back within 1.
That's a great job there by the Outlaws. You have a goal just almost go in. It's so easy just to submit and be like, hey, they just got the save there. Let's just get back, get some boost and reset and try to get a counterattack. But no, they stayed on the ball. They stayed on possession. They kept it in the Rhinos' half and forced a goal.
And oftentimes you're going to see that's what really makes the difference between good twos teams, or especially in particularly sweaty matchups there. As the Rhinos stay on, but they overcommit, and the Outlaws are going to actually tie this one back up.
Once again, that's a great job. The Rhinos' pressure control was not necessarily adept there, as we saw them really trying to force a goal in there. But that's great positioning there from the Outlaws defense, forcing them to make a lack of a shot, I guess I can say. But that's a great job. Good positioning there for the Outlaws counterattack offense to get this game back tied.
Absolutely. And so we see the Outlaws almost going up there by 1 beat, not quite able to make that mechanical of a play on the run down from the kickoff. And so the Rhinos take possession back here. But like I was saying before, what you can kind of expect to see, especially in matches with really good and practiced twos teams, that whoever can stay on the ball longest, especially on the offensive half of the field, is who's going to end up scoring the most. Just because at some point the defensive rotation breaks down when there's only 2 people involved.
Yeah, and we've seen a little bit of that from both teams thus far. It seems like the Outlaws definitely are back in the driver's seat as far as the offensive possessions go, but that's a good save there from BK as some threatening shots are being forced on now by the Outlaws, but the Rhinos definitely are being tested with their skill here. 3-3 scoreline, Nigel. Still 48 seconds to go, but it seems like the Outlaws are still pressing in the Rhinos' corner.
Absolutely. They definitely have had a great possession here for, I mean, it almost feels like the last minute or so. But 40 seconds is an awful long time in twos, and a lot can happen still. If we can see somebody trying to just break this stalemate, the Rhinos finally have a counterattack, and the Outlaws just aren't able to get there. I think that's just kind of like a misplay from, was it Beep on defense there? No, it's maybe Dynette. No, it is Beep. Kind of leaving his middle open there. Midget takes advantage, and the Rhinos go up by 1 with 30 seconds left.
I have to give the Rhinos a lot of credit there because it's so easy, like we said there with the Outlaws' previous goal, is that it's so easy to say, hey, these guys are putting so many shots on our net. I believe the Outlaws put 6 or 7 shots, maybe not have been credited with that many shots, but they put so much pressure on the corner. The ball was in the Rhinos' half for a better part of a minute, and they eventually just found that one outlet pass that they needed to take the Outlaws' defense for granted and basically just force a goal in. But 10 seconds, Outlaws still have a little bit of time, but BK dives in on that ball on the corner, looking to continue this pressure, not going to give the Outlaws any sort of chance, but Midget's going to turn this thing over to Beep now. Dynamic, trying to find it off the wall, but that huge 50 from BK is going to force the ball into the ground, and Rhinos take game 1.
And that's a great heads-up play from BK there, off of the wall, come down just to get the 50, try to get the ball onto the ground, end the attack there, because really Midget did not take the advantage of the opportunity he had there in the corner to kind of waste out the last couple of seconds to keep the ball on the ground, draw the defenders out. So played a little risky there. Looked like he was trying to maybe get that one final nail in the coffin goal there with 3 seconds left, but the Rhinos get away with it. BK with a great play there to put it on the ground.
Yeah, like you said, BK, that's great recognition that Midget was maybe being a little bit too aggressive with their lead there at the very end. But it's really easy just to say, hey, we scored a goal. Let's just keep trying to go maybe for that goal differential statistic. But when it comes to twos, like you said, anything can happen in a small amount of time. You have, if you go for maybe overextend on a possession there with a couple seconds left, the other team can turn it over. It could be a 2-on-1 just like that after missing a goal. So great job once again by BK to kind of shut that down, is because if it got past BK, there was nothing between them and the goal. So once again, great defense there, great recognition that there was a opportunity for a goal. But the Outlaws, once again, can't count them out with 10 shots and netting 3 goals there. It's a great job. A lot of pressure. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get it done.
Absolutely. And I mean, 10 shots does tell a lot of that story like we were talking about. What I would like to see here out of the Outlaws is more of the same. More of that constant pressure, keeping strong possession of the ball in the Rhinos' defensive third, and eventually getting them to crack. Because as good as Midget and BK are on defense, they're not perfect, and eventually they're going to run out of boost, or they're going to run out of touches to be able to make on the ball.
Yeah, and I want to see a little bit more physical play from the Outlaws as well. The Midget and BK are so strong with their rotations, as it kind of complemented last game. It's going to be a key thing for this Outlaws team to find ways to interrupt them, force some mistakes, force uncomfortable saves, but that one is going to be tough to bring back, as Midget is going to take advantage of the mistake on the defensive line. Took 15 seconds to score. Rhinos up 1-0.
You know, we have a saying around here in MLE, and we say we take those. Midget says, "Yeah, okay, if you're going to whiff in front of your net, I will take that." And you know, you never want to be the guy that whiffs there in front of your own net, but it happens to all of us. It's just a part of the game. And the Rhinos faking the kickoff looks like.
It's tactical play in twos, is we're going to have a 2-on-1 in favor of the Rhinos, but dynamic, very strong rotation there. As you saw, that Midget was a bit slow there in the midfield as the Outlaws back on the offensive. This Midget stay in the corner, trying to look for one, but Beep is going to take over as BK backwards, but is able to get it done there. The acrobatics, you saw the half flip straight into the scoop for the catch, for the possession there, but Midget's going to have an open clear, maybe possibility an open net. Now BK on the receiving end of that pass, but Dynamic is going to take the ball away from the overextension of Midget. Maybe an air dribble attempt, but he's out of gas, forcing to turn back there as BK starting the counter attack for the Rhinos, but Beep once again there to shut it down. This ball just kind of pinging between both backboards as of right now, but Twitch chat is trying to change their mind, Nigel. This is a big one. Twitch chat chooses 71% in favor of the Outlaws, despite the fact that Rhinos took game 1 and currently are leading.
Wow. That's a big shift from what we were talking about at the beginning of the series there. I'm not sure that I would agree with Chad there. I mean, Rhinos are up 2-0 now. They have the 1-game lead in the series. And I'm seeing really smart plays. Like, we didn't get a chance to talk about it. They're almost a minute back in the game where the Outlaws had a 2v1. Honestly, almost had an open net. And BK getting the bump on Dynamic to completely shut that play down defensively was just an absolute galaxy brain move that you love to see.
Yeah, and it's a huge key in 2v2 specifically, is to take players off the field. There's another fantastic goal from BK, just taking the wheel of this one. The Rhinos once again up 3-0, but it's a big key in 2v2s to take a player off the field. If you see them in a threatening position and you may not be able to reach the ball, go for a bump, go for a demo, because in that case you're taking half of the opposing team off the field. You're going to have a power play for a couple seconds. You're going to have a chance to reset positioning, and that's exactly what the Rhinos are doing. I haven't seen any demos come out of the Outlaws thus yet. I think it's going to be a huge key for them. Midget with the open net chance, just can't find the angle. Dynamic in the net. BK once again, these air dribbles are disgusting, just can't find it there off the post.
And absolutely, when you say, you know, bumping somebody, demoing somebody, taking 50% of the opposing team's players off the field, that's huge in and of itself. But really what we've been talking about and we've been seeing from both of these teams is that the handles are really what matter. The ability to keep the ball close to you, do what you want with it. As Dynamic shows exactly what I'm talking about there. Dribbles it straight down the field, wide open net, because the Rhinos once again overcommit on offense. And this is starting to become a theme for the Rhinos here. So maybe Twitch chat has noticed something that we haven't really been harping on too much.
Yeah, call them the analysts, as that's a great goal there from Dynamic. Good positioning. That's a great field vision jump as well there from Beep, right, realizing that their teammate was upfield, but that's, again, the physical play there from Dynamic. Unfortunately, Beep just couldn't find it from the long angle, as BK is going to put this one in. He'll take it. So the Rhinos will take a 4-1 lead off the own goal.
This, I think, is just a tactical error from Beep as he steals the boost from in front of Dynamic when Dynamic was just about ready to turn back and pressure BK before he gets that ball into the air. Cause a little bit of confusion on the sideline there for the Outlaws. They end up conceding because of it.
And you can't really just count out BK there, as it's easy to say, oh, that's just an own goal. But yeah, you're definitely right. That is a tactical error. It's really tough to read that play, but BK put that ball in an awkward spot for them to read. So that's a fantastic job once again by BK, as it is really easy to just kind of throw a shot on net and just put it in front of their face to where they can just easily knock it away. But by putting it directly on the top of their car, it puts it in a really awkward spot. Once again, that shot just forcing Dynamic into an awkward position. Now Midget looking for one midfield. Here's Beep looking for that long field pass, but BK read it earlier. BK's gonna have another chance on net. Midget is gonna turn for one midfield now. The possession off the sidewall. That's a great read from Midget, and the Rhinos are gonna tack on yet another. It's a 4-goal lead.
Absolutely. Midget just with an excellent self pass here off the wall. Dynamic can't react in time. Rhinos go up by 4 here, so now we're looking at, really, it's not impossible yet. There's still 2 minutes and 12 seconds, but this is a pretty big gap to overcome, even in twos.
Yeah, especially with how hot the Rhinos are right now. Midget, the absolute veteran in AL currently, but BK definitely is going to, it has been a star player for this team thus far, as there's another big demo from Midget. The facilitating plays there, but BK just couldn't find that double tap. He's been trying to show us the mechanics all night, but Midget, once again, on the counterattack from the Outlaws, is just able to keep it out of his goal. And it seems like the Rhinos seem like they are more of a cohesive unit thus far. It seems like the Outlaws have some very specific skills, as that was almost another beautiful goal from the Rhinos. But it seems like the Outlaws have some specific skills, very good at finding and punishing mistakes, but once again, the rotations just aren't quite there yet, and I'm not convinced that they have what it takes to take down this Rhino squad. Absolutely.
I think the key difference that we're seeing is the comfort that the Rhinos are displaying, and particularly in possessing the ball. The Outlaws, every time we see them on a counterattack, we see them almost throwing the ball away because they're just trying to fit in an opportunity. They're like, I have to score right now, and maybe making a suboptimal choice instead of maybe trying to slow it down, let your teammate join the play, or beat the defender with a slow play. We're seeing a lot of that from the Outlaws versus the Rhinos are very comfortable just waiting for the defense to make a mistake, waiting for them to overcommit on their counterattack, and then booming it down the field into their net. Right, so it's all, like I said, just about Rhinos having comfort being on the pitch and keeping the ball close to them.
Yeah, you see them playing very high in the air, looking for some team passes between each other. BK just making that one awkward enough for Dynamic not to be able to reach it. And this is now just beginning to be a slaughter in favor of the Rhinos, as that is a 7th goal for them, 5th for BK. And unfortunately, Beep just couldn't reach it there in the net. But I think you're definitely right, Nigel. It's easy to say the Rhinos are definitely feeling very comfortable here, especially on the mainstream. So it is easy to let stream jitters get to you, but Midget is no stranger to being on the mainstream.
Absolutely. So, you know, if you're the Outlaws here, we have to start thinking about what are you going to do for? Oh, that's Midget. Just unfortunate. That was BK. This whole play is BK. BK is somehow all the way down the field. Oh, and I've got it backwards. BK is shooting, Midget with a bump. So, like I said, it's all Midget here. Midget makes this happen because Beep is just waiting to receive that in net and then just gets clobbered from behind.
That's kind of been the entire story thus far for the Rhinos. They're really forcing the Outlaws into super awkward positions. Holy cow, almost reaching that one off the backboard. That would have been a beautiful play. But once again, there it is. Just yet another counterattack, as we will have 9 goals now for the Rhinos. Make it 7 for BK. But it seems like that's been the story this entire time. The Rhinos just kind of let the Outlaws play into their hands, and they just bang it in their net from downfield. And it seems like the Outlaws haven't yet found the answer to that.
Absolutely. And the Rhinos have just been happy to sit there, play their game, and then let the Outlaws try to adjust around them. And you're right, the Outlaws haven't found what works yet. Although it looks like maybe their strategy for the first game was a little bit better than their strategy for this game. So the double commits on offense aren't helping them. The whiffs on the backboard and right in front of their net aren't helping them. But of course, those are things that just sort of tend to happen, especially on stream games. So it'll have to be back to the drawing board onto this one. Finally getting out of the final 10 seconds. The Rhinos still up 9-1, looking to make it 10 as BK goes to the backboard. Beep there to clear it out, though.
Yeah, it seems like the Outlaws are definitely going to need to take this 45 seconds in between games just to figure something out here. Giving up 9 goals is a huge red flag, especially in twos, as the other team has to be pretty dang good to score 9 goals against you, and the credit to the Rhinos there. They had pretty much every answer to what the Outlaws threw at them. They had their playbook, it seems like, on the table right next to them as they were playing, but the Outlaws definitely are not out of it yet by any means. They definitely kept the first game extremely close. They almost took it, actually, with a couple mistakes that were made there in the offensive end in the first one, but they're definitely not out of it. This is just a fantastic game from the Rhinos, and luckily for the Rhinos, they have the momentum. They can continue success that we saw here, and the Outlaws are on series point, but we do play all 5, but it's only game 2. It's still very early.
Right. And so, like you said, Rhinos up 2-0, but we still have 3 games left to play. And to be fair, you said, the other team has to be pretty dang good to drop 9 goals on you. And, like we've mentioned before, the Rhinos are pretty dang good, especially in twos. You have the current reigning AL champion playing on the field right now, or at least one half of that dynamic duo. The other one's somewhere here in the production booth with us, but he's moved up to CL now. But yeah, so you have to respect that the Rhinos really are good, but the Outlaws, they've shown that they can keep up, right? And that they know they have some bits of the strategy that will work against the Rhinos. It's just that what they were trying this last game, in particular, where they were trying to be super aggressive on offense, wasn't working out for them. They were getting beat over the top of their heads down the field a lot. And so now you've got to adjust. Maybe you play a little bit softer in the midfield. Maybe you send one person for demos while the other one plays soft. Whatever the adjustment is that you want to make that fits best for your team.
Yeah, I definitely think if I'm the Outlaws here, you're going to want to try and be a little bit more physical. You see the Rhinos have been playing super physical, getting bumps, getting demos throughout this entire series thus far. Midget's going to take one off the kickoff and get the Rhinos started once again.
And this is just another example of what I was talking about midway through game 2. That Midget definitely in particular has this ability to just sort of sit and wait on the ball, wait for what the defense is going to make a reaction to whatever he's showing, and then outplay, rather than trying to have an idea long before he gets to the ball and try to force it anyways, even once the defense has reacted.
That's a promising play there from Beep, as he's tried to make an awkward touch there on the backboard to try and set up dynamic. Unfortunately, they just couldn't read it as well as they would have liked. The speed definitely wasn't there, but that's a promising play. The Outlaws, despite the fact that they almost gave up a goal there after it happened, they almost saw the net on the shot. Once again, unfortunately, they just couldn't get the offensive connected. But again, the Rhinos on the counterattack. It seems like the Outlaws are trying to piece some things together, but it just seems like the Rhinos are always just one step ahead.
Absolutely. It seems like the Rhinos really are just able to stay on the ball longer. They're able to, maybe it's rotate over pads, maybe it's keep control of the big boost pads, and really just sort of like clamping down on the defense of the Outlaws. Although here, Dynamic with a great touch, cleared across the field, get a little bit of breathing room, honestly, for the Outlaws. The first that they've seen this entire game.
Just the Outlaws trying to set up some sort of offense here in the Rhinos half. BK there, quick to shut it down, as it seems like the Rhinos, once again, like you said, are really controlling the boost game right now, and it's definitely starting to show. The Outlaws just can't control in front of their net right now, as that touch just falls right into the hands of BK. BK once again there to punish.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're just everywhere. It seems like if you're one of the Outlaws players, it seems like everywhere you turn your camera to, there's a Rhinos player there waiting for you, lying in wait. And they just are crushing the 50s. They're reading the outplays, and it just seems like the Outlaws can't have no answer for what the Rhinos are doing.
Yeah, they're definitely just playing as patient as they would like on the backboard. They know that the Outlaws aren't necessarily applying as much pressure as they were in the first game, as it definitely was a little nerve-wracking for the Rhinos. They only scored 4 goals, which is still no easy feat against any team. But the pressure in game 1 from the Outlaws was a lot more promising than it is now. It seems like all of their touches were very confident in the Rhinos half, but right now it seems like they're just trying not to play the ball into the Rhinos hands. But unfortunately, while they are doing that, they're doing exactly what they're trying not to do. It seems like every touch there, Dynamic finally able to hold a possession now, it seems like. But it seems like the Outlaws are playing a little bit nervous. They know that the Rhinos are kind of like the overarching figure here in this series. It seems like they're the faster players, but the Outlaws definitely can get sneaky, definitely can get physical and shut down this Rhinos team if they want to.
Absolutely. And so going back to what is the real difference here between game 1 Outlaws and game 2 and 3 Outlaws? And I wonder if Beep's ping has anything to do with it, because I've been checking the scoreboard here and seeing his ping has gone up to 130, upwards of 160 at times throughout these last couple of games, whereas that wasn't the case when we originally set up the lobby.
Ooh. That is a good point as well. Ping is a factor that's kind of overlooked, especially in production. But You have to consider that as well. See Outlaws trying to just start a counterattack. It seems like that defensive rotation from them was very strong there, showing some promise. Only 2 goals for the Rhinos as of right now, but as I say that, make it 3 as BK is going to shoot a long bomb goal. As once again, seems like the Outlaws are just not quite cohesive in rotation quite yet.
Absolutely. And I mean, BK really just makes a beautiful touch here from the sidewall. Catches Beep kind of out of position, waiting around in the midfield, not able to catch it for that ball. And so, again, the Rhinos are up 3. We have 2 minutes left to play, just less than 2 minutes now. Still a long time, still tons of time in 2's terms, and the Outlaws have the opportunity here. But sitting staring at the ball while BK kind of monkeys around you isn't necessarily a good strategy that's going to get you those 3 goals you need.
Yeah, now there's Beep. They're just going to try and find a teammate there, but it just kind of falls back into the hands of BK once again. That touch just fortunately again just kind of hit right back into the Rhinos' possession. It seems like they're just trying to find each other. The communications seem to be kind of there, but they just can't quite get around the skill that the Rhinos are presenting and the Rhinos are throwing at them. It seems like the Rhinos are always there around the corner whenever they try to make a play. Now Beep's going to have a long open opportunity, but once again Midget is just there with the quick rotation. It's going to take a wide shot. It's going to give the Outlaws a chance to kind of mount a counterattack here, but he just can't get it past BK. Once again, like I said, it seems like every touch that the Outlaws make, the Rhinos are just one step ahead of it. That's another example, but unfortunately, Midget just couldn't find it in the net, and Beep will take a goal.
I think Beep just kind of caught Midget flat-footed here. You see Midget kills all his momentum there on the back post, and then Beep takes it all the way to across the net for him, and finally gets the first goal of the game for the Outlaws, 3-1 Rhinos.
Yeah, that's the first time they've scored in, I believe, about 8 minutes of Rocket League now. But the Rhinos just straight off the kickoff are just going to put it straight back in the net, just saying, hey, you guys scored. That doesn't mean anything to us. BK, fantastic play to make it 4.
Yeah, and unfortunately, just a mechanical error here from Dynamic, not able to get up there and touch that one further onto the backboard. Catches Beep out in the corner, no help, and the net's wide open for BK.
It's just really tough because that's just a fantastic read there by BK. You kind of, at this rank, the backboard is kind of like a dead zone. It's really hard for players to read the ball on the backboard, especially when the ball is moving really quickly. So BK read that pretty early, saying, hey, this is pretty much a free area for any player to reach, especially on offense. So he put it up on the backboard, knew that the opposition wasn't necessarily going to read it very well, and just watched it fall back into his hands and put it straight in the net. But 18 seconds, Rhinos definitely, I think, are going to be taking this game, especially being up by 3, but Dynamic showing some promise here after their possession here in their own end, but unfortunately just couldn't connect the touch.
Yeah, you make a great point there about at this rank, we're kind of used to seeing empty backboards, and this is maybe a good tip to leave here as we close out Game 3. Looks like the Rhinos are going to take it in the series win, but if you're around this rank, somewhere in the diamond to early champ ranks, playing on the backboard is a crucial skill that most people haven't yet developed at this point. And you can see now the Rhinos have definitely noticed that that's a place that they can start to exploit.
Yeah, as a higher ranked player myself, I've been GC3 SSL for a long time now, so I can definitely say that the backboard is the most important mechanic in Rocket League. It's not necessarily flashy, or it's not necessarily an advantageous position to be in at all times, but when you see that the opponents are scoring a lot of goals, especially by utilizing the backboard, a place that you can't necessarily read, a skill to pick up, especially at the ranks of AL and CL, is being able to read the backboard, any bounce off the backboard, and being able to position yourself and feel comfortable being around the backboard. You see BK punishing it over the last 2 games with 10 goals between the last 2 games. I believe about half of them have been off the backboard in some way.
Or definitely, like, if you include just the sort of sidewall around the corners, the defensive corners for the Outlaws, then maybe all 10 of them fit into that category there. So we've just heard in the chat that the Outlaws are going to be bringing in a sub. So we're waiting for that transition to happen here before we go to the next game.
I think this could be a great look here for the Outlaws. It just didn't seem to be working with the rotations between Beep and Dynamic. So maybe Trent can bring in some new life here for this Outlaws team. But the first game of the series was very close. We saw Beep really trying to facilitate some plays. Unfortunately, Dynamic may not have been on the receiving end of that, and vice versa. So maybe it could just be a little teammate change real quick. See if Trent can bring in some new life to this Outlaws team and try to find a way through the Rhinos.
Absolutely. So we'll look to see what exactly, what kind of style is Trent going to bring for the Outlaws here. Whether that's going to be a major difference in what we were seeing out of Dynamic. Already we're seeing Beep playing a lot faster than he was previously. And I wonder if maybe Beep himself has just been reinvigorated by this change. Trent there to drill the first goal home for the Outlaws, and they go up 1-0 in game 4.
Yeah, Beep playing super quick on that play, forcing really awkward touches there off the left post. A great sign here from the Outlaws. Trent, the sub coming in 20 seconds, has already found himself a goal.
Well, you love to see it. And honestly, like I said, maybe it's just a matter of breathing a little bit of life into the team. They were just maybe a little bit too demoralized after the first couple of losses to the Rhinos there. So maybe this change will give them the new scenery that they're looking for. A little bit of a miss there from Trent, and then another miss from Beep, and Midget gets the equalizer. We're only 30 seconds into this game, and we've already seen 2 goals, but at this time, it's one from each side.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a play that the Rhinos are going to take advantage of a lot. We've seen it a few times already, pass to themselves off the sidewall. In that case, it was between BK and Midget, but it's a really tough thing to read, and that kind of goes back to my point about how it's really important to be comfortable with the sidewalls. So that's not a tough read to make, especially in AL. So that's a good thing that BK and Midget have taken advantage of it, but that's why it is so important to utilize your mechanics, especially around the sidewalls and backboards, because teams are going to punish you for it.
Absolutely. And really, it's just a matter of any advantage that teams can find over you. If they find a weakness in your reads or your defensive mechanics and ability to make touches, they're going to try to continue to exploit that. And for a while there, we saw definitely in the case of Dynamic, backboard reads, even low backboard reads, were a problem area. And the Rhinos definitely took a lot of time exploiting that throughout the first 3 games.
Yeah, we're finally seeing some pressure coming out from the Outlaws. It seems like the Rhinos definitely are kind of on their back foot here, despite the fact that they have the most recent goal. But Midget is trying to find BK there. He's trying to put this ball further into the Outlaws half, that is. But a good clear from Trent is going to put some pressure on the Rhinos defense now. But a huge dunk from Beep. It's going to force BK to be put in an awkward position. But great recognition, great field of vision from BK. Fantastic solo play from end to end. BK is going to get the lead back for the Rhinos.
Absolutely. And this is honestly a good example of what can happen to you in twos, ironically, when you play too soft. Right? Yep. Beep gets all the pressure there with the dunk over Midget, but Trent is way back in his backfield. So when the ball lands in the Rhinos, front of the Rhinos net, BK has all the field to work with and set up the beat on Trent. And had Trent just been maybe at midfield instead, he would not have had anywhere near that space, and maybe the Outlaws keep it and even score there.
That's the really tough thing about 2v2s, is that it's so easy to just kind of overlook the fact that you have to be very versatile in rotation when it comes to pressure, when it comes to consistency in 2v2s. It's so easy just to sit back and say, hey, we play a very defensive play style in twos. We're going to let these teams play into us and try and force mistakes and take advantage of them. But at the same time, you have to be able to make all or nothing plays. That was exactly an example of it. You saw Beep put the ball in a really tough spot for the Rhinos defenders to save, and they didn't save it. The ball was leaking midfield, and I think there was plenty enough time for Trent to get in there and possibly get a goal. But there comes times where you have to just kind of take a chance and see if you can get a goal back, especially against a team like the Rhinos when you're not going to get chances like that.
Absolutely. You have to capitalize on the opportunities that they are going to give you, because you're not going to get a whole lot of them. Speaking of capitalizing on opportunities, BK sees that the entire Outlaws defense is sort of discombobulated, looking like they're out of boost, catches Beep kind of sideways and with no momentum towards the ball, and just goes straight over the top of them. 3-1 Rhinos.
That's the one thing that BK has been doing this entire time. His presence has been just petrifying his opposition, as it seems like every time he gets near the ball, everyone seems to just back up a little bit to see what he does. But he's creating the plays, he's finding the goals, making the defenders awkward. That's exactly what you need to do to win in twos.
Absolutely, and it's almost like BK heard us talking about this at the beginning of the series. Oh, Midget, Midget, the veteran here, Midget, the current season 14 twos champion in AL, and BK went, hey guys, what about me? As Beep brings the Outlaws back within one there with an excellent heads-up play, catches BK sort of awkward, stuck on the front post, nowhere to go. Beep just beats him over the top.
And that's great job by Trent, of course, reading that post or reading that bounce out of the corner, knowing that his teammate was ready midfield for that pass, and once again utilizing an awkward position for the defense, being the corner wall and the backboard. So once again, that's a great goal from the Outlaws. They are right back in it.
Absolutely. One goal with a minute 30 to go in twos is basically not a lead. Like at this point, if you're the Rhinos, you're still trying to play aggressive, trying to get yourself an insurance goal or 2 or 3, and really burn as much time off the clock as you can, because anything can happen in that much time in twos.
Now you see Trent there out of their own half trying to force a 50 on BK. Now Beep is going to scoop up a possession, but BK once again a huge demo. It's going to give themselves some time and some give some comfort there in their own end, but a little bit of a mistake touch there after that possession gave the chance back to Trent, but the Rhinos starting a counterattack. Still 60 seconds to work with here, but he's got a man midfield, but a huge 50 coming out there from the Outlaws defense is going to give themselves a chance back on offense, but Midget trying to find one. As Trent's going to force an awkward 50 midfield, but BK positioning on the backboard, like we said, is so important, as that could have just saved a goal there.
Absolutely. If BK's not up there on the backboard and Trent has a good read on it, that's a pretty easy shot to make there. Yeah. And if he's sitting flat-footed on the ground, he has pretty much no chance at saving it.
There you go. That's another fantastic read from BK off the backboard. Is that you see the Outlaws are just trying to disrupt this defense by putting it in awkward positions, but BK is just there and ready for it, as that was another one. The bump attempt, unfortunately, and for them, and unsuccessful in the net. But now 1v1 for Beep, trying to tie this game up. But Midget once again comes in huge on the goal line. BK looking to continue pressure further into the Outlaws half, but again, Trent's going to turn this one around. Beep there to chase it, looking for a diving touch. As Trent is going to have the last chance here for the Outlaws. Booming clear. BK trying to read it. It's not going to find it. Now Trent looking for the game-tying goal, but not enough of an angle. Midget gets in front, and Rhinos take game 4.
You just hate to see that ball touch the ground there, because the Outlaws have all the momentum. They've caught BK kind of way out in left field up there in the corner on the ceiling. Really an excellent opportunity, and just not heads up enough to be there before the ball touches the ground. Beep now asking for a server reset. I wonder if finally that talk about what we were mentioning earlier with his ping being up in the 140 to 150 range, he's decided that he's going to take whatever advantage he can get, try to get a reset here and get it back down to normal.
Yeah, if it was me, I would have probably done that after the second game, especially losing 9-1. But now game 5, maybe some new life for the Outlaws, but definitely this one was a lot closer, especially bringing Trent in, trying facilitating some plays. This is a great look for the Outlaws. You saw some pressure, 6 shots apiece from both teams, as it seems like we will be having a server reset here. So we're going to talk for a little bit longer than usual, but great job of the Outlaws. Rhinos again hang on, forcing some plays, forcing some awkward ones, but I got to give huge credit there to BK. We had plenty of opportunities for the Outlaws to tie this game up and even take a lead, but the comfort on the backboard, the comfort on the sidewalls, and the ability to have an adept rotation, have adept skills and mechanics to stop those touches, to stop those plays from starting even off the backboard is fantastic, and is ultimately what led the Rhinos to a win here.
Absolutely, and I think just BK's presence everywhere on the field is really what the story of the Rhinos has been throughout this series. I mean, like I said, we were talking a lot about how we have the veteran of AL Midget in there, and he's had his moments, and he's definitely shown his presence, especially on the goal line there with that excellent stop on the 1v1 against Beep right at the end of game 4 there. But really, the rest of the series has been the story of BK. BK has been on the backboard. He's been high up on the sidewall, stopping really any attempt from the Outlaws to boom the ball, get it over the top of the heads of the Rhinos, and to really get some excellent touches out, some excellent clears, and to start the counterattacks. It's really all been BK in that respect.
Yeah, without a doubt. BK has been kind of, and that's credit to Midget as well. Midget's kind of sitting back, letting BK play his own game and saying, hey, man, I got you. If you can't necessarily get it done, I'm going to be behind you. I'm going to make the plays, and I'm going to set you up as best as I can. Midget's done a fantastic job of that. I think he's definitely the perfect player to play alongside BK, especially being the player that has been so familiar with these players in AL for so long, especially winning the entire league last season in 2v2. So this is his stage. This is his place he feels comfortable in, but it's the Outlaws' job to take that away from him. Unfortunately, they're down 0-4, but we saw new life in Trent coming out onto the pitch alongside Beep. So maybe the server reset can change a couple things for the mindset, maybe kind of give them a couple minutes to get refreshed, get going, and maybe try to find a win here in game 5.
Absolutely. And so really what it comes down to here, we're looking at game 5. The Outlaws are down 4-0 in the series, right? It kind of makes you wonder, now we're pulling out the stops. We're going for the server reset. We've got the substitution, and it makes you wonder, like, why did we wait so long, right? Especially with how well that seemed to have re-energized the Outlaws there in game 4.
Yeah, and that's like you said, this is going to give them a couple minutes, just kind of think over strategy, kind of see what's going on. Unfortunately, it seems like Beep's ping is still about the same, but could be a little bit of an improvement as maybe a couple minute break, give them a chance to go to the bathroom, get some water while we wait for the server reset. But again, like you said, we have a chance for the Outlaws to bring it back. They have a minute to catch their breath. But if you're the Rhinos, you just take this minute. You hope they don't get iced here because it's too easy to have a couple minutes. But they had a couple minutes just of sitting here kind of thinking over how are we going to continue our pressure. We kind of saw them bring it a little bit closer in the last game, but now it's up to the Rhinos just to hold on as long as they can, despite the fact that they had a couple minutes to cool down. But like we said, Rhinos definitely the advantage. The Outlaws kind of on the doorstep.
Yeah, honestly, if I'm in the VC with the Rhinos, I'm telling them, let's not think about it too hard. We don't need to change anything. Everything that we're doing is working right now. Every touch that BK makes is gold. Let's just keep playing our game. Keep it calm, keep it collected, be cool, do our thing, get the 5-0.
Yeah, and definitely is the pick'ems definitely are kind of going in the way of the Rhinos as well. As 56% have that one guessed correctly, as the Rhinos did in fact take the series 4-0, but the Outlaws, like you said, are just kind of on the doorstep looking to continue pressure, and the Rhinos just trying not to overthink it, not trying to get complacent with their 4-0 lead thus far, as it is too easy just to kind of think, oh well, we've got a 4-game victory. If we drop one, and it doesn't really matter. But we've said this so many times together in the booth, is that every game matters. Every game matters so much. We've seen teams over multiple seasons miss playoffs by just a couple games. So you can't let any game slide. You can't let anything go. You have to always be trying your hardest through all 5 games. I'm looking to see the Rhinos do that here, but the Outlaws definitely are going to play with some fire in the hair, trying to get this game.
Absolutely, and if I'm, again, in the VC with the Outlaws during this whole server reset ordeal, what I'm telling them is, let's just turn it up. We've already lost the series. There's nothing more to really fret about. There's no more stream jitters. There's no more really anything else to worry about. Let's just play the game. Let's have fun, and let's let it hang out. Let's play fast, because at the beginning of Game 4, that was what we saw was giving them the best chance at success, and what got them their couple of goals throughout that game was really Beep just kind of going nuts and playing fast. But as the game wore on, he started to slow down, and then eventually they ended up dropping it. So
yeah. I think that's a great point there. You need to have consistent pressure the entire game. We saw success from both times that Beep had outreach plays that were really, really fast, and unfortunately, we did see that kind of come to an end in the first couple of minutes, and we didn't see him find the net really again the entire game. But here's one from Beep. Is going to have some pressure, but unfortunately, Trent was just kind of camped underneath it. Unfortunately for them, forced the ball out into the corner. Now BK is looking for an offensive attack now, as this game still is scoreless, about 90 seconds into this one, but Beep looking to get some pretty strong offense going here for the Outlaws. But Beep is just going to find a wide open net.
There you go. Catches the Rhinos rotating really high. And this has kind of been a theme of the series, and something that we haven't focused a whole lot on because there's been lots and lots of other things to talk about. But the Rhinos are rotating really, really high. Second man always ahead of the midfield line. And so right there, they get punished for it. It's kind of the theme of what we've been able to see the Outlaws capitalize on so far. But okay, I was getting worried there that Trent had disconnected because I didn't see him move for a solid couple seconds.
But yeah, like we kind of said at the start of this game, it's too easy to get complacent with a 4-0 lead. It's too easy to say, hey, these guys don't really have anything on us. We kind of have this one in the bag, but that's unfortunately for the Outlaws not the case, as the Rhinos still definitely have the foot on the gas, so that's an unfortunate miss there. Call it a fake from BK and Midget there to scoop it up.
You just hate to see that. You hate to see a ball just sort of left dangling, dropped in front of the open net. You hate to see a double commit on defense like that, and neither of them comes up with the ball. But that's kind of how Rocket League goes. That's why this game is, I don't know, so addicting to so many of us, because it's never really predictable.
Yeah, anything can happen. As there's still 3 minutes to go, the game is in either of these teams' hands, as it seems like Beep is going to try and take control of this possession, but Midget again just reads that play early, forces it out, but Trent, huge pinch, is going to force BK into an awkward position. He's going to have an open net to shoot at. That's great job by Trent, able to see that there's no one else back, and he'll have the lead back for the Outlaws.
This really is an excellent toucher, especially just the pinch up the wall, kind of catching BK where we've expected him to be the entire series, but really just sort of not giving him enough time to get set up and entrenched on that wall, make an awkward touch, and sort of just leaves it right in front of his net that's wide open, because Midget hadn't had enough time to rotate back yet.
It's a fantastic job by Trent, as you're going to see Beep with a possible open net chance here, but BK with the quick rotation back is going to cover that one very, very nicely, as BK starting a counterattack back for the Rhinos, looking to get this game back to a tie here at 2, but Midget shut down by Trent once again. The sub coming in handy for the Outlaws, but BK once again, star player of the series so far, just covers that one up very comfortably. Trent in his own corner is going to have a uncomfortable 50 with Midget, but that 50 is just kind of lost once again back into the offensive hands of the Rhinos.
Yeah, that was an excellent idea there from Beep to try to pass out to the wall. Trent tried to get a good touch on it, but honestly couldn't shoot it, couldn't send it back to Beep, and so it kind of just ended up out in no man's land in the middle of the field, and the Rhinos scoop it back up.
BK looking for one in his own corner, trying to set up Midget now midfield, but Trent good positioning on the front post, able to get to it as quickly as he needed to, but BK once again, the acrobatics forcing Beep into an awkward position. That force from Midget, just unfortunately for him, off the inside post, as that would have been a game-tying goal. But Trent headed back the other way for the Outlaws, trying to continue the pressure and force the Rhinos into a frustrating position here. As Midget kind of loses that one. BK there to scoop it up and send it back midfield, but huge 50 coming out from Trent, the facilitator of the plays thus far in the last 2 games. Nigel has been a huge key role for the Outlaws. Is going to have an open roller, but Midget there to scoop it up. Minute and 10 seconds to go. The Rhinos are going to need a goal to tie this game up. BK once again covered up by Beep. So this defense for the Outlaws is coming in clutch right now, as BK is going to try and cover yet another touch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Outlaws sort of have all the pressure here. Finally, we see a missed touch from the Rhinos, but somehow Beep's not there, and BK is able to scoop it out from under the wide open net. That's just a huge miss from the Outlaws right there. I'm not sure what happened on the rotation, but it seems a huge opportunity missed there to take themselves up one more goal. What a huge fake, though, as I'm sitting here talking about Beep missing. Just absolutely faked Midget's axles off.
Oh, that was almost a chance.
Getting deleted in the backfield. Will he be back in time to save this chance from BK? He will. Wow, that was close.
Wow, what a save from Beep, as he's going to have another chance on offense. Midget just can't get it. The acrobatics not quite there, and Beep is going to take the bottom left after a huge game-saving save. Is going to turn it straight back around and put it in the Rhinos' net.
Absolutely. Those last 30 seconds were all the Beep show. We were sitting here saying, wow, how did Beep miss? And then, wow, what a save from Beep. And then huge shot. I mean, it was just that. It was the Beep Bing Bong Bop show.
Say that 10 times fast.
No, not a chance. That's the only time you're getting that out of me on stream.
I can't believe you did that successfully. But there, the Rhinos definitely on their back foot now. The Outlaws looming in the offensive end for the Rhinos. They're going to need a quick goal to have a chance here. But Beep, once again, unfortunate miss from Beep in the net after that beautiful goal. 3 seconds to go. Nigel, there's still a chance.
There really is still a chance. The Rhinos just don't want to go quietly. They don't want to give the Outlaws just this one consolation win here. BK is having none of it and says, look, don't forget about me. Don't ever count me out. I'm still here. There's still 3 seconds left. Anything can happen.
That's a favorable kickoff.
The Outlaws maybe just drilling this one into the net.
Oh, that's a good bounce for the Rhinos there on defense. BK with the mechanics is going to try and get it done, but Beep was quick behind him, forced an awkward position, and the Outlaws, despite the fact that the series was really lopsided in favor of the Rhinos, will take game 5.
Yeah, and really an excellent comeback and really excellent, in my opinion, just a great performance from Trent to step in there under a lot of pressure to be in that substitute role, especially after the series is already lost. At that point, you kind of have a lot of expectations like, well, if you weren't going to be here for the rest of the series, like, why bring you on now? So really excellent job from Trent to sort of stand tall in that role, come in and provide a lot of what was missing for the Outlaws there in terms of presence in the midfield, playing that second man role and just not letting anything past him and generating a lot of those opportunities for the Outlaws on offense.
Yeah, and I definitely think that we're going to see more from Trent here in the future. Unfortunately, Dynamic may not have had the best day, but the Rhinos, fantastic job to them. BK, definitely a star player. If we had player of the week for AL, I'd definitely say he'd be up there. But Rhinos take it 4-1. It's been an absolute blast having you in the booth with me. Again, Nigel, I think you might be taking a break here. We'll see you in another game tonight. But that's about it for us. Rhinos take this one 4-1. Outlaws are going to be looking to bounce back for this one. But coming up next is going to be CL doubles. We're going to go up just one more notch, one more ranked tier to Champion League doubles between the Aviators and the Hawks.